Hello all, welcome back to Fake Fox Theories. I'm Not Real, and today I'm going to talk about Poppy Playtime. This isn't different from any other day, except today I'm sharing it with an audience instead of just thinking really hard about it for 5 months. After being in a quiet spell since the release of Chapter 3, save for the orientation notebook and some Smiling Critter merch drops, Mob Entertainment has finally fed its starving fanbase with a new video teasing the beginning of the Chapter 4 ARG. This new content has shocked some life back into the theorist community, and I am no exception. Rather than focusing on the secrets within the new video, I think others have covered that pretty thoroughly by now, I wanted to talk about a theory that I've been working on ever since Chapter 3's release. While between the prototype, Poppy, Catnap, Ollie, and the other toy characters there's a lot to investigate, I've been fascinated by the people of Playtime Co. One employee in particular has had me in a vice grip, Harley Sawyer. Despite being such a major player in the plot, we really don't know too much about him. We don't know why he took over the research department, we don't know why he's so committed to Playtime Co., and we don't know what happened to him after all was said and done. Or do we? It's time to investigate the man, the myth, the megalomaniac, Harley Sawyer, and why I think he's still alive. I've said before that I don't think everyone died in the Hour of Joy, and while the response was generally positive, thank you by the way, I did get some pushback after Chapter 3 came out. And I'm not surprised. After all, we saw the footage of the employees being killed in the massacre ourselves, and not only that, but Poppy was very clear that all the workers were killed, whether they were guilty or innocent. However, that still doesn't have me convinced. Firstly, Poppy has lied to us and withheld vital info on multiple occasions. I am firmly on team Poppy cannot be trusted. She doesn't act in our best interests, and I don't think we can consider her a reliable source of information. Not only that, but the tape only shows low-level employees being killed. We don't see the executive offices, the labs, inside the Playcare buildings. We don't see any area of the factory where important personnel would reside. We don't actually have any concrete evidence that Harley died. And now, we have a video where Harley Sawyer narrates the events of the series up until this point. That is huge. I've seen people argue that this is just because he has a dark, spooky voice that lends itself well to the tone of the video, but that feels like a cop-out to me. There's a lot of great voice talent over at Mob Entertainment. I feel like they could have easily come up with a great generic narrator if that was truly what they were going for. At the end of the video, after describing the player character's path through the factory, Harley says,
"And we shall see what comes of it, won't we?"
That "won't we" is emphatic. It is intentional, it is ominous, and it could easily be a hint that he's still around. But I get it, that's not enough to build a theory on. Luckily, I have more. A few months ago, Tericho posted a video theorizing that Elliot Ludwig is the prototype. I highly recommend going and watching it for yourself, as I'm just going to be giving a short recap here for context. The general idea is that Elliot Ludwig began the living toy experiments as a way to save sick and dying children. Which makes sense, right? His primary motivation has always been to bring joy to children, and what better way to do so than prevent an untimely death? As he reached the end of his life, Elliot volunteered to become the prototype. This would be the first time they tried the procedure on someone other than a dying child, and he chose to personally undertake the risk of the procedure failing. With Elliot in the body of 1006, he is now locked away and experimented on, and no longer has any control over the direction the research takes. This gives the scientists, including Harley Sawyer, full control to pervert Ludwig's work from one man's dream to save children into something that suits their own desires. But they have a problem. The prototype was the first time they created something that didn't need sustenance to survive, and Elliot was the only one who knew why it worked. In order to continue pursuing immortality, the research team needed to figure out what Elliot did to succeed. That is the purpose of Harley's experiments on 1006. Beating, burning, tearing flesh? These aren't standard lab tests. This is torture. Harley is pushing the prototype's physical form to its limits, trying to discover what exactly it can survive and why. This is one of my favorite Poppy Playtime theories out there right now. Tericho did a fantastic job laying out all the evidence, and I completely agree. Seriously, go check it out if you haven't already. That said, it did leave me with one question. What exactly is Harley Sawyer's end goal? Immortality, sure, of course, that much is clear, but why? What did he plan to use it for? It could not be more obvious that whatever Harley's plans are, it has nothing to do with saving children, or saving anyone for that matter. Human lives mean nothing to him. They are simply a means to an end. He's a selfish man. It's hard to believe that he would want to use this technology to help others in any capacity. So what exactly is his grand plan for all this? Well, if we take a look at the death screens from all 3 chapters so far, each game has a message that, to me, appears to be from the research team. Chapter 1 has, "Innovation is key, thank you science." Chapter 2, "Innovation is key, may we forget death." And Chapter 3, "Innovation is key, we are born anew." The first is a statement that their goal is feasible, perhaps noted after the initial success with the prototype. The second is a statement of their end goal, to cheat death. And third, a statement of rebirth. We are born anew. Note that they don't say they are born anew. They're not referring to the bigger bodies or any of the other living toys they've created. They say we are born anew. That's personal. Harley is pursuing immortality for himself. He wants to live forever. Now, I know what you're thinking. I can't possibly be basing an entire theory on a pronoun. And you'd be right. I'm also basing it on something that Harley has told us himself.
Mortality is the curse of the weak. The fire that incinerates the flesh. I strive to snuff that flame. Call me a monster. But I am simply a man who escaped from incineration and embraced the infinite.
This is from the trailer for Project Playtime Incineration, and at the surface level, it's just more confirmation that immortality is the end goal. However, since when has anything in this lore been just surface level? So let's take a closer look. Look at the phrasing here. He says escaped incineration, embraced the infinite. He's speaking in past tense. Harley is speaking about achieving immortality as if it's already happened. If mortality is fire, and Harley has escaped incineration, then that would mean he's already surpassed mortality. Harley isn't pursuing eternal life anymore, because he's already found it. He says, "You may call me a monster." Now, that could be referring to as much as personality and the fact that he's evil enough to experiment on children with no remorse, but I think it's bigger than that. I think that the scientist has become the experiment. Harley Sawyer has undergone the procedure himself and become a literal monster, with immortal power rivaling that of 1006. After all, we know that something happened to him. During the catnap check-in tape, Leith Pierre states,
"Normally I'd have Dr. Sawyer do this, but he's, out, let's say. So you got me until they find his replacement."
Sure, there is the chance that Harley was killed by one of the experiments or died during the Hour of Joy, but that just doesn't feel satisfying to me. The man whose actions set the entire plot of the game in motion dying the same simple death as low-level unnamed employees? I just don't buy it. It's a much more satisfying narrative for Harley Sawyer, a man consumed by ambition who has zero attachment to basic human morals and a complete disregard for human life, to cast off the shackles of humanity entirely and become Playtime Co.'s grandest experiment. And keep in mind, this tape happened 4 years after the creation of Catnap. Catnap was fully integrated into Playcare in February of 1991, which would put this tape in early 1995, mere months before the Hour of Joy. It's hard to feel like that's a coincidence. Originally, 1006 just wanted to escape the factory. Even though the original reason he went back was to save Theo, there would be no reason for him to not just try again. Unless Harley had achieved immortal power. Elliot couldn't bring himself to leave the children behind, knowing something like that was in the factory. Not only that, but who knows what kind of chaos would happen if something like an immortal Mega Harley were to leave the factory and go out into society. Elliot couldn't leave, not while Harley was still around. I think that that's the real reason why he organized the Hour of Joy. Not just for revenge, but because he needed to stop Harley Sawyer at any cost. That's why we don't see 1006 participating on the tape. He's not worried about what happens to the other workers. He uses the chaos to escape his prison and go after his rival. However, I don't think that's a fight that the prototype could win. Prototype is inherently going to be an inferior version, a first attempt to be improved on later. Harley had the upper hand. If 1006 was injured in this battle, this could potentially explain why he's taking the other toys' bodies to make them a part of him. He could be rebuilding his broken body, growing, improving, getting stronger in order to try again. Harley Sawyer and Elliot Ludwig are character foils, two sides of the same coin. They both pursued immortality, but while one wanted to use it to help others, the other only wanted it for himself. They were both willing to sacrifice their humanity for what they considered the greater good. Harley was willing to let children die to further his own agenda, and Elliot was willing to let innocent workers die in order to stop him. The idea of an immortal Mega Harley somewhere deep within the factory does feel kind of out there, but that's actually one of the reasons why I like this theory so much. In the recent interview with Sheep Rampage and Zach Ballinger, the CEO of Mob Entertainment, Sheep asked Zach what he thinks will surprise fans the most about Chapter 4. In response, Zach said the villains. I'm not going to speak for anybody else, but I feel like Mega Harley would be pretty surprising. At least it would be if I hadn't spent the last 5 months thinking about it nonstop. Either way, Harley said it best. We'll have to wait and see. I hope that you enjoyed this latest theory as much as I enjoyed writing it, and if you did, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to see more videos like this in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Smell you later!